All right guys, so now that we have it out of the car, we're gonna go ahead and install the fuel pump. So the first thing you gotta do is remove these tabs all around the side right here. I'm gonna go throw on some gloves real quick before doing this, since I'm gonna get fuel all over the place. But yep, you just take these off. There are 4 tabs. It might be a good idea to get a second set of hands when doing this, because these tabs are kind of hard to separate from here, but let's go ahead and take that apart. Oh yeah, getting gloved up. All right, so go ahead and take these tabs. Now you're just gonna want to take each one of these and try to get it to where you can get it to stay open. I'm gonna do this by myself, so it's gonna suck, but I'm gonna put one like that, just a screwdriver. It's probably a good idea to have a couple screwdrivers when doing this. There we go. All right, finally got it open. So now you wanna go ahead and unplug the wires here, so you have the black and red on the left-hand side and the blue and black on the right-hand side. So again, you can just go ahead and use a screwdriver. Whoops, spilt some gas. Use a screwdriver, go ahead and pull those out. Now, once you get those pulled out, then you can go ahead and pull this whole assembly out of the little sump bucket. And we can go ahead and disconnect this piece right here. So now what we gotta do is squeeze this down. Now you'll see a little snap ring. So I'm just gonna take a screwdriver and just kind of press against it, and that should be able just to kind of get it off here. You could also use like pliers or something like that. All right, so finally I got that little thing off. It's kind of a pain again. That's what it looks like. It's like this little C-clip guy. So setting that just aside because we don't want to lose it. Now we can go ahead and start to take this apart. So what you have here though is you have another clip. You got to undo this. This is going to undo this piece of the fuel line. So take that little guy out of there. And then over here on this side, you have 2 more clips. So go ahead and grab that. Use a screwdriver if you want to kind of pry them off, or you can use your hand almost to get them separated. And then that's gonna pull, boom, right off of there as well. You will see that you do have 2 O-rings in there. So, you know, make sure those are looking good. You wanna go ahead and pull those out so that when you put them back on, you can easily just reapply them like this. You're gonna have to lube these up when you put them back in though. So go ahead and just pull the O-rings off, because you don't want to push it onto the O-ring. You want to like have it off of here like that, so that when you're reapplying it, you can lube it up and it's going to be in the right spot and you're not going to pinch this O-ring at all. So now let's go ahead and remove the fuel pump. So now we can go ahead and separate these 2 pieces. So just make sure you're not yanking anything out of there, and just kind of gently pull up. That's going to separate these 2 pieces here. So you can go ahead and disconnect the pump wiring right here. That was one of those wires, and there's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's a little ground or something up there, but we'll go ahead and disconnect that from the pump. So just putting our screwdriver in there, pulling that tab out, and it's just gonna disconnect it. So we'll just set that over here. Okay, so now we have the pump. So let's go ahead and put a screwdriver in there and take this thing out. So I put a screwdriver on both sides and then just kind of pulled it out. So let's go ahead and pull this thing out. All right, so now let's grab the new fuel pump. This is the DW65c. You want to put the fuel, a little like filter on the end of it or whatnot. And also you need to take the spacer off of the old fuel pump and place it on here as well. So this is like the little spacer piece. And after that, you're gonna have 2 O-rings. So let's get the old O-ring out of the bucket here. So you see that right down in there. We're just gonna pull that O-ring out. So I have that O-ring. And now what we can do is go ahead and put the supplied O-rings onto the new pump. Once you have both of those, you can just go ahead and place both the O-rings onto the pump itself. They just go like this and they stack up. DW does say you're supposed to use 2. So they recommend you to use 2. If you read on the forums, a lot of people accidentally like only put 1 in here, and I guess that's not the proper way to do it. So you want to make sure that you have 2 of these on here to get the proper seal, because you can have air kind of flow past or anything like that. Now, if you guys noticed, and you noticed closely, that I did pull out the DW65, that's because this is my 3rd time messing with this. First time went in good, I thought. Then I had one of these pieces that had fallen out on the ground, so I had to take it out of the tank. Then later on after that, I reinstalled the fuel pump, everything worked good. Then I had a comment on my fuel pump unbox asking, hey, did you install the spacer? And I said, yeah, I did actually install the spacer. I didn't know what the spacer was, so I looked it up, which was that. And yes, I did put it on because the old one had it on there, so that wasn't an issue. But in doing so, I found out that that was why they supplied 2 O-rings. So now I got the 2 O-rings going on, and I'm gonna reinstall these back in here. So let's go get the super lube, and let's install this thing back into the filter. And don't screw up like me. Learn from my video, and now you'll know. Okay, so now let's go ahead and lube up this O-ring nice and good, and we got to get it snapped into the box here. So let's do that. You want to use quite a bit of this quick lube on here, from what I've heard. Don't get it in the hole or anything like that, but you know, you want to just lube it up. That way it slips in nice and good, and you don't have any issues with this installation ripping or tearing these parts. So let's go ahead and install that back in here. You should just see it right down there in the bottom, that little hole right there in the middle. That's where we're going to be shoving this down into. So it's pretty basic, but let's try this out again. I'm just pushing pretty hard in there, pushing down, trying to get it on in. Has not snapped in yet, so I'm gonna try this, lube it up a little bit more, because it's not liking me. It's not wanting to go in there very easily. So let's lube it up quite a bit more. See if we can't get it in there. Okay, so it looks like I have it fully seated. It's clipped in, and yeah, I can see the O-rings in there. So it looks like it's gone down pretty well. Just make sure that it's seated in there nice and well. You know, you don't want it to pop out or anything like that. And then we can go ahead and reinstall all this good stuff. So let's put it back together. All right, so first thing you're gonna want to do is reorientate this thing up like this and put it back in upside down. Well, not upside down, but you know what I mean. Like this. So we can do that. Line up these little dowels where they're supposed to go, and then we can get to where we can push down on this again. So we have to get the tubes and the lines all lined up so that we can push down again and get that little C-clip backed on. And now we can lube up these O-rings here and go ahead and install those back into their proper spot. So I'm just gonna get a little bit of this lube on my finger and lube up this O-ring and let it slide right in there. So this, before we get too far, I needed to click this back in. So gotta put the actual connection back into the fuel pump. That'll help so that it actually has power. It's obviously something that it's gonna need. I should have done that before I put the C-clip on, but that's all right. You can still do it. Okay, I got it clicked in there. So that's all good. Now let's just go ahead and put this down onto its little fitting. Watch your O-ring, make sure it looks good. Push it on down in there. Make sure this thing is clicking on, that it's not popping off or anything like that. And then you can go ahead and do the other one right here. We'll lube that one up.
Lubing it up nice and well, because we do not want this ripping or tearing, and we want it to have a good seal. So go ahead and put that on there and let it click right on. Again, we want to make sure that we have a good seal. You should be able to kind of see the O-ring through here and inspect it and make sure it looks all good. So now we can go ahead and click these connections back in to these spots right here, back up at the top. So this one went on this side, and the other one is a little bit bigger, and it went on the other side. So now we can go ahead and just push this back in. Now, right now, you want to make sure that you don't have anything extra hanging out on the outside of this. Now right here also is another O-ring. So we're going to go ahead and pop that out. It's in the bottom of the little bucket right here. We're going to pop that out, put it on here, lube it up, and make sure that that gets in there good as well. So all these O-rings are very important when you're installing this. We can click this connection back in for the fuel cylinder, or not, yeah, for the fuel cylinder. And now we just want to make sure that this all clicks back down and into place. Again, make sure these didn't fall out. Make sure to inspect this whole thing and make sure it looks good, and that you don't have any extra pieces laying around, because you don't want to do this again. And now we can go ahead and install it back in the car.
All right, guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall this again. So just so you guys can kind of see what happens, double check all your stuff. I'd recommend to clean up before you get this thing totally buttoned down. Maybe just set it in the gas tank, set it and forget it. That way you can make sure you don't have any like extra stuff chilling on the ground. So now I'm putting this back in here. Again, you got to get all those hoses out of the way. So that's kind of like the hardest part about putting this back in. Just press down, make sure that it's over all the bolts. Get those hoses out of the way. That way we can get the that piece back on there. That big metal bracket. Go ahead and put that on there. Okay guys, and then we're gonna go ahead and just reconnect all these fuel lines. Make sure they're all snug down on there good and tight. And make sure you don't break anything, and then we'll reconnect the fuel pump power and all that. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and screw down all those screws. Just tighten those all down. There's like 8 of them, and make sure they're all nice and snug. Now in like 3 little areas right here, you'll also see where the gasket needs to come through the top of the lid. You can see that little one right there. Those have to all come up, so there's 3 of those. All right guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and reinstall these nuts around the pump. It's just gonna go in like a crisscross pattern. All right guys, so now we got all this assembly back on, have everything torqued down and tightened back up. So now I'm gonna go ahead and put the cover back on, put the little rubber piece back through here. This is kind of what I fed through before to get a little bit more room. Now you could pull this back, you know, farther, but it didn't really seem to get in my way too much, so it wasn't too bad. I kind of try to just, you know, line this foam back up to how it kind of originally was on here. Now we can go ahead and reinstall those 4 screws that were holding this part down. That way we can seal all the gas fumes out. And now, hopefully I didn't get too much gas anywhere, but I mean, this thing was open for quite a while, so I know right now all I'm smelling is gas fumes, so woo! Okay guys, so it's all buttoned back up. So we're almost done, but what I want to do real quick is go ahead and hook the battery back up. All right, so get that on there pretty tight. All right guys, so what you're gonna want to do is go ahead and put your key into the ignition and let it prime up for a second. So I just have the key on. Go ahead and try this out. Okay, so that could be some of the residual fuel still in the system. So let's make sure that the car continues to run, because this might be some fuel, like I said, in there. Right now it says fuel pump duty 100%, because I did switch that on my Cobb access port, because I've been kind of watching like how the fuel pump duty works. Usually it's like 33%, you have 66%, and then you have 100%. So there's like 3 different modes, 3. And when they're on, it basically kind of tells you the differences. So also I've just been watching injector duty cycle, just to make sure that like when the car does that, that it's not like the injectors being weird or anything like that. So right now it seems like it's running well because it kicked the fuel pump down to 33% and it did kick it on at 100% when it started up. So everything looks to be good. All right guys, so we're gonna go ahead and reinstall the seats. I have the car running right now because the battery is off, the ECU is relearning. So it's relearning like throttle position and all that sort of stuff, and it's warming the car up and learning all the air fuel mixture and all that. So let's go ahead, put this seat back in the car. It's real simple, just like you had it before. Just kind of take it, grab your seat belts, and get this seat belt up for whenever you have a passenger. I barely ever have passengers, but I'm sure they would like a seat belt if they're in my car. I know I would. I wouldn't want to ride in here without a seat belt. Push those in the back, click it down, bam. All right, that's clicked in there. The center is clicked in, and this side is clicked in. So now we're ready to rock. Okay guys, so I've been sniffing gas fumes for quite a while, and I got this thing all done. So if I kind of talked weird towards the end, sorry about that, but it's been a lot of gas fumes going on. But anyways, the car is warmed up, looking good. Everything seems to be working great, but pay attention to all those little gaskets and all those little like rubber O-rings and all that stuff when you're pulling it apart, because they're kind of easy to get lost. So yeah, overall, I'll probably do a review on the fuel pump. That'll be like, is the car working? I'll be watching the fuel pump duty cycle just to kind of see how it acts, to see if it acts like the old fuel pump or if it's any different. So thanks a lot guys for watching. Please like this video, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already subscribed, or if this is like the first time you watched me. Always have a lot of good like install videos and stuff like that. If you guys have any comments or questions, go ahead and leave them below, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Later guys, peace out. Today what we're going to be doing is installing this fuel pump into my 2014 Subaru WRX. Woo! All right guys, so I can't even talk. All right guys, so I've been sniffing gas. I can't even talk again. I can't talk.